What's up, everyone? So I just wanted to go through a couple of my wins as far as equipment goes for my western hunts that are now concluded. A lot of gear was really awesome. It worked out for me. There's a couple items that didn't, but we'll get to that later. For now, I want to kind of touch in on some of the things that worked really well for me. So first thing I want to start off with is this silicone spray. I sprayed some of my gear with it and it held up incredibly well. The season started out really dry and it ended really wet. And luckily for me, I sprayed all of my gear with that needed to stay dry, and it did. So that was awesome. My footwear system, these Smartwool socks, they're a lightweight hiker sock. They are the Smartwool Hunt. I just think they're super cool. You got that American flag. They are made in the US, which is always a plus, but they also worked really well. They wicked moisture and they kept the smell out and kept my feet dry. These are the surprise. These are the Under Armour Newell Ridge boot. It's a lightweight Gore-Tex sneaker that's a high top basically. I picked these up on clearance, not really expecting much. I kind of picked them up to wear around town and they ended up doing phenomenally well for me. Traction was great, stability was awesome, super lightweight, and the thing that impressed me the most was how dry I kept my feet. I encountered a few downpours in these things and I didn't even get my socks wet at all. I actually packed my bull elk out in these and my feet held up awesome, so that was definitely a plus for me. Another huge win, I had this on for a lot of the scouting season as well. This is the Badlands Bino XR harness. So obviously you've got your binoculars in here. It's all magnets, so there's no zippers, so it's nice and quiet. This was actually a huge bonus, is the rangefinder pocket. So I ran it a lot off the cord, but you can take it and hook it on here and range what you need to and just drop it, and then you don't have to worry about your rangefinder falling. So that was cool. I've got a couple survival items in here as well. My headlamp, I've got some water purification and fire starter, and then my wind checker and a chapstick. So you can keep a couple little things in there at all times. So that was really handy, and I was glad I had that. Another big plus, you see me wear it in every single one of my videos, is this Under Armour hooded t-shirt. Super lightweight, wicked the moisture really well. For my antelope hunts, it kept the sun off of my neck and my ears, which, well, that was brutal. It was hot out there. I'm really glad I had this thing. I wore it pretty much all season. It seemed like it took about 3 days before it started to get stinky, which was pretty dang impressive for something that's synthetic. But that was awesome for sure. As far as my shooting equipment goes, number one thing that was definitely a win for me was my Spot Hogg Fast Eddie double pin. Having those two reference points at all times really made it easy to just pull up and shoot. And obviously bomb-proof construction for that site, that was definitely a win. The Iron Will solid 125 broadhead. Man, it did a number on that bull that I shot, and I was amazingly impressed with that thing. Of course, it's Colorado made, so I love that, being a Denver native. So that was a win as well. Lastly, the Nocturnal light up nock. When I shot my bull, it part of the arrow actually ended up inside the chest cavity. So we thought it was a pass-through, but it ended up, not being. Obviously, there was about an 8-inch section that was in that chest cavity. And the reason that that's a win for me is because I opened that bull up and the nock was still lit, and that was 24 hours later, being surrounded by a moist, hot environment, being inside of that animal. So that was definitely a win. And last but not least is my pack setup. So this is the Eberly Stock F1 mainframe, topped with the little big top F65 bag. This thing was incredible. You can pop this bag off and use it as a standalone day pack. It's about 3,200 cubic inches, and the frame works completely separate on its own as well. So what I ended up doing for a lot of my hunts was just ran the pack, and when you get to hike in far, or like for my deer hunt when I was backpacking, I just ran it like this with both pieces combined. So you actually have a meat shelf down there, and you zip the pack off, and you actually can put the meat in between your pack and the frame, so all your gear stays completely free of any blood or smell, which is awesome. That stuff is really hard to get the smell completely out, but from a comfort standpoint, it's phenomenal. I was impressed, and I was able to carry out my full doe as well as my camp, which was easily around 100 pounds, and I was totally comfortable doing it. So I would downside to this pack is it is a little bit heavy. As it sits here empty, it's about 9 pounds, so that is kind of a downside, but for the way that it packed that weight, I was totally impressed with that. So I think my bull was about 1.25 miles with 700 feet of elevation gain. I was right around 90 to 100 pounds for the 2 trips that I took, and I felt totally comfortable. I think I could have pushed it well above that weight tolerance, but I decided to take my time and not push it too hard. But that's it. So some of these products might be useful to you next year. We'll see if they even make them still. You know, this industry moves so fast. But those are my wins for this season. I still am working on editing my elk hunting video for this year, and I've got about, let's see, about 3 weeks until I go back out to Nebraska for my final rut whitetail hunt. So we're still going. It's we're still having fun. This is kind of a nice break to relax and gather our thoughts. I've got my new rifle and scope that I want to sight in and get that set up, so I'll put together a video on that as well. But in the meantime, I hope you're having a good hunting season. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, shoot straight.